Okay, Harry, go ahead.
All right. Okay, thanks. So I'm Harry Silverstone. I've been working in Salesforce for a while, doing a lot of consulting. And the past couple of years, what we've been doing is assisting clients to get access to their data as quickly as possible. So as you know, right now, if you want to look at an account, you look at an opportunity, contact, you got to be flipping pages. So we've been working with UIs to essentially put all that onto one page. And so we've been working with that. And then in the process, we've also been starting to do automation, and we've been using flows. And so recently, we were trying to really go through and improve the experience. And we had a customer that was using a particular UI, and they really wanted to get off of it and say, could we get everything from the UI onto flows and use flows? So we've actually done that, and we've got it in place. But we ran into a lot of different obstacles. Did initially getting the UI, get everything into one page. And then we had issues with trying to do what we were doing with the UI within a flow. Two particular problems that we had were we were putting tables on the page. So, and I'll explain a little bit more, but it's, yes.
Can you come closer to that microphone so the recording your voice on?
I really like not talking loud, so.
Oh, a little closer.
Okay, better? So what we've been doing is we've been working with the flows, and we needed to be able to edit some of the tables that we put onto the flow. So we have essentially an account page that actually has both an account and actually, let me just give you a quick preview of that. I'll come. So right here. So on the left-hand side is our current UI implementation, and basically we're looking at an account, and we provide basic information. So we provide information about the contacts for the account, some account information, and then several different aspects we all lay out onto here. But in each case, you'll notice that we kind of have tables being displayed and information on the tables. And through the UI, we're actually able to edit the content of those tables. So again, you didn't have to flip off of here and go to the specific object record and then make your changes. So basically on the right-hand side, we tried to mirror all this, which we have, and put it into a flow. Two big issues we ran into with doing the flows. One was actually getting to an editable table. So in a fairly recent release in Salesforce, they actually included tables into flows. And so now you have data tables, but they're not yet editable. So we had to figure out how can we get them editable. The second thing is in the flow, we also wanted to be able to add inline buttons so that we could perform actions within the flow. And again, something not directly available within Salesforce at the moment. So basically, these are the two things that I was going to talk about today, and how we've actually overcome it. Right. Okay. So essentially, what I found as I've been working with flows is each release, there's a lot of new things that are coming out. It's getting better. It's relatively easy to use. I only do a little bit of development, and but I've been able to use flows to do almost everything that we had to do in Apex classes before and triggers before, putting them all there. As you know, in flows is replacing workflows and process builder for another project completely different. We're migrating all of that, and it's been going relatively smoothly. And so from Salesforce, the adoptions going quickly, pretty easy to use, lots of capabilities, lots of documentation and YouTube's available to help you out if you run into issues. but still there's been some issues. And as I just mentioned, the editing of the tables and the buttons, and every once in a while I run into something else that needs a little bit of help. So one of the places, and there are multiple places to go to, but one of the places I've been going to is this unofficial sf.com site. And it has, a number of screen flow action components that are available for you to pick up. So they're third party, they're free. So there's no cost to them other than, just verifying with, in my case, I have to verify with the clients that I'm dealing with that they're legally okay with doing that. We haven't run into any problems. There's been no real legal review, but anytime I use a third party application, or even if I buy one off the shelf, we still go through a bit of a legal review. So just try to make sure that that's there. So a lot of how-to guides, a lot of tutorials on there also, but this is, and later on, maybe I'll just flash up a picture of their site. So two applications that I pulled off, one is called Dateable, the other is Navigation Button. These are the two that we're going through. The data table inserts rows and columns into your table. You can select the rows, you can then act on them, and it saves you doing things that people would have done with dynamic record choice in the past. And then the navigation bar allows you, or button, sorry, allows you to actually embed a button within the flow itself. So basically I put together all the slides and give you some verbiage that you can walk away with. And then I'll go into a little bit demo how we go. So there's a little bit of overhead at the moment, but in the data table, the biggest thing for the work that I was doing and where we're at is selecting rows and being able to edit fields within those rows, right? So now, sorry?
Also the sort.
Yes, you can sort, you can change the width, you can wrap text. Well, the formulas would actually be on the field itself. There's no user type field that you put in there, but you can create a field on the object and then use that field in there with a formula.
On the tables, can you do a mass update or like you would do
I don't think that you can at the moment. I haven't tried to do that, although I haven't seen anything to say you can. There is a way to select all the rows and do things by selection, but I haven't actually played trying to update them all in one shot.
Okay, are these tables the related list or are they off the main object?
So they're the related lists. Although you could, sorry?
You can query anything.
Yeah, you could go and create, yeah. So what I've been doing is actually related lists, but yes, you're right. You can pull in any data and then within the flow, you create your set of records and then you can manipulate that set of records.
Nash, have you done this before?
Yeah, I do. It's very good. Better than Salesforce. They will get that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know, maybe I can just let Nash do the talking and I'll be happy. Sorry, just joking. Yeah, no, that's okay. So the one thing that for us is a little bit problematic is the table size is not managed by numbers of rows in this particular application. It's just managed based on height. So if we have, say in the case of contacts, we have one account that has 20 contacts and another that only has 3 contacts, it's kind of hard to figure out the manipulation of that. So it does, you can have scrolls and do that, but you can't, say I'm only going to show 5. You may say I want a height of whatever number of pixels or whatever it is, and then you could get a little bit of your table line chopped off, and then you get the scroll buffer. So that's the biggest pullback on it. navigation button basically allows you to put the button anywhere on put it on the screen. And this functionality, as I said, doesn't exist in Salesforce at all. And for this particular application, it doesn't work in classic mode, although I think hopefully most people are moving away from that end. So.
Do you run across the points that have?
Excuse me? Oh, I have clients that use it also, but we're slowly migrating. They still use classic, yeah. So, well, we still migrate them, but yeah, we brought on. Well, I mean, but part of my job is to, help people evolve. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, and some people, even after you migrate them, you'll still see that they are flipping back. So. Yeah, actually that event logger would be a great tool, to help you find that. I mean, you don't need to use that tool, but they can find out who's flipping back and why. So, yeah, exactly. So, just some details. I given the link for where the app is. In the case of the data table, you have to install a couple of managed apps and then or managed package, sorry, and then you can install the data table package. So you have to put a little bit of application onto your system, not just one small application. Once you start configuring, all the configuring is done inside the component. And when you're pulling up the component, because Salesforce has a data table component, there's a component called data space table, which is the Salesforce one, and then there's one called data table, which falls under the custom set drop downs. So you just have to make sure you're selecting the right one. Once you configure, I'll just go into some details how to go in and configure, but what it does is you can select the columns that you want to allow to edit. You can change the label names. You can add icons to the columns. You can drag and rearrange, the data however you want. Set the width, and you can also keep track of how many records you actually have available to you in the record. So in the case you have a large table of information and you're scrolling through it, you could see how many records you have in there, right at the top. Basically when you get into actually configuring, I've sort of done more the process. You go into data table or table formatting, then you go to column pickup and then pick, and I can show you that when we actually go through it. So, so that's on the data table. And then for the navigation button, a lot more straightforward. Again, you install the package. I have a typo on here I need to fix up, and then you do the configuration of the button also in the component. It's again a custom component that you put in, and then you can set the label. You can there's a parameter called button click, so you can both check to see if it's set, but you can actually have the button set or not set, or to start with for whatever reason. Some variant types to give you some, I guess, sort of coloring to the button. And then you can place the button on the left side or the right side of your page. The other thing is you can configure up to 5 buttons on a given page or screen. All right, bigger part.
He's getting ready for a few short periods of things. This was product manager flows, monitoring what's being done. Some official, they get some gets a call. Especially very responsive you would have struggling, or you want to prove something, or future suggestions. Think that's right.
So we actually did use him a couple times when we were going through, and he's made changes since. But we did find a situation that caused a problem. They resolved it. We had needed a slight modification for a feature. They added it. So he is, like you said, very responsive and very quick. And I think even on a couple others, there's been people have responded pretty good to it. And even within the page itself, for all the applications, there's a little bit of a chat in there, so you can communicate and put comments and get responses back. So what I'm going to show you in here is, and I'm using a site where I'm already doing some work, so I have to be a little bit careful what I was doing. But the table is here. I'm showing contacts, or sorry, account. Yeah, contacts for an account, and I have the ability to both edit them and also to add new contacts if I want to. So this is really the ultimate what I'm doing, but just to give you a little bit. So the flow I built out, the flow, basically it's a screen flow. I'm pulling in for, I actually ask a question, what's the account that you want to use? So I'm trying to make this particular flow, I tried to make somewhat generic. You could build it into your individual accounts. So I try to select what account do I want, and then from there I go and get all the contacts related to that account, and then I'm setting a variable just for something I needed to do with a button, and then afterwards I'm actually doing the manipulation in here. Actually, let me just go through the flow, and then I'll. So once we've got our data together, if you want to click the button, to do that add contacts, then it comes down here, and then I run another flow that actually does all the setting of the contact information. Likewise, when I save information or I've made my edits, I go back and I refresh the tables at the same time. Okay.
So an application like this, is this like a couple of days work or afternoon work?
So what I did here was all within an afternoon. The first time I did it, because I was also learning about the table, and then a couple of quirks that we had with the table, plus some of the other items I was doing, it took me 2 days. Okay. The entire page that I showed you at the beginning, that took us about, I'm going to say about 3 weeks, some back and forth. So I brought some other people in to help do some of them, or some of the tabs. So there's about 10 pages altogether that we've developed in the flows. Several are, a little bit clonish of what I'm doing here. And some actually are pulling some data that required some additional manipulation as we went along. So when I come into this screen, I've placed two components on here. So down in here, you have your custom section here. So I have this data table that I just drag something extra in.
Eric, just a plastic.
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
what was Washington? Do you know where the Washington is? Yes, I know.
Yeah, it's down that way. Okay.
I used to work in this facility like this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they changed a lot.
Yeah, so you go around a little bit of a bend in there, and it's there. So the men's is off this side, and then the women's is off that side. Anyways, okay, so okay, so No, I somehow added a component that I shouldn't have added. I added this as expression builder. So here you have the data table. So you can drag and just drop it on here, which is what I've already got. And then when you click into it, it comes up and basically some, you name it. So I'll show you this in just a second. So you select what object you want to operate on, where the records that you want to actually retrieve. So that's why in the flow earlier I had retrieved a bunch of records that allows me to operate on them. And then from a sort of management, so what I was saying is you went to a data table and then you can configure the columns. And there's two ways. You can either select pick, which shows you all the columns, or you can manually enter them. So I usually take the pick.
Very clever.
And then as you can see, I've already selected a number of columns in here. I can sort them however I want. I can bring other columns in or change them. And then once you're done, you then have another screen that comes up. And if you click on the down arrow next to here, you'll see a bunch of items list up. So you can align the data within the table. The biggest thing really is the allow edit, right? So that's where you configure it. So for example, in the account ID, probably really don't want people to be messing with that too much. So you can stop them right there. So all features in here, obviously both here and then even when you're back on the table itself, you can stretch or narrow the columns. Thank you. You can add icons if you want to the tables, like just little stuff. You can change the label name. So for example, account ID, maybe I really want to call it, I don't know. I'm not really original with names. So.
I was going to suggest ID account.
Yeah, there you go. That would work. And then you have a few things down below where you can, you can make them all filterable, or you can mass make changes. So once you've done that, you also have some behaviors that you can include into here. I haven't been using them too much, but you have them, and then maybe you want to set up and run. So you can disallow the row selection. You can allow people to come off the table or not come off the table. So you can allow navigation and, here and in some of the flow things, rather than say, always save, they use either a next or a finish name. So that's what allows you to get there. You can open links on the tab and stuff like that. So, okay. You could hide the headers if you wanted to. So,
Also here you can manage single selection and multi-selection. There you go.
yeah.
And do you require this field?
That's what I was wondering.
Selected.
Like phone number, house
Sorry.
name.
Yeah,
So
so
this, but you can put all day. You can say you cannot go next step until you select something. Yes. Then you make it.
Does the validation, the standard Salesforce validation rules?
You should work them.
yes, they'll still work in there. So like when you're saying like, is it required or the format, that's actually going to come back to the validation of the field validation. So
Do you have an error handler to show the error on the top?
I didn't put one in here, but we did add them in, so, yeah. So we've added them in for different items that we saw fit. And again, that sort of pertains to both, the types of users and what's going on and everything, but you're right. So,
Can you repeat the question? So I'm asking if you could, if it allows you to sort and delete records. The answer is yes. You can select record and you can delete select record. Or you can select record and insert this record is new record.
Yeah.
But in the table, you cannot choose.
Because there's not an option there. Because you limit the number of rows.
no, it's just because the functionality isn't there. So, I mean, specifically, the editing that's the whole key of using
And
this
we don't
particular
want that.
table is you want to be able to edit into the table. If you, to delete the row we probably could embed logic to do that, but it doesn't come naturally with the table to do that. And much of this is really items that we're trying to give to the general public. So deletion is something that we don't bother with giving to people too easily. Yeah. So in here, for example, I can come in and edit this, and, and then you have the save button that comes up. When you click on the save, the table will refresh. So you see that it's test here on the actual record page itself in the background. I actually have to refresh this page in order to get that to take place. But I could have in my flow done something to refresh the page also. I just didn't bother. So in here, you can see test another down here. So yes.
Harry, so when you deploy this, you just put in the change set the flow, that's it?
So what you have to do is you have to actually install the packages on the org.
Yeah.
And then you can just put the flow.
Okay.
So in our case, when we did the entire, sort of site, there were more than just flows that we put across. So we put logic for the error handling. So that was separate logic. So we had to put those actually went into the change set also. But for I'll say 90% of it is just, flows that went into here. Sorry. So also to invoke all of this, I just put it as an action button, and I misnamed the button purposely so that the other people that are developers that are working on the system don't touch me what I'm doing. So, and I'm just selecting the same account that I'm displaying, but I could select any other account, and now I have the table. So the other thing, so in this table, you also see you have the number of contacts that appear here. So it shows you the number of contacts. I added a little icon just, to make it look nice. I could have put icons on these pages also. Yes, sir.
I'm trying to understand what's the use case for, like, we have the standard list, right? Like the contact related list on the account in this particular example. And we are doing a dynamic table through the flow and display the information there. Is this just easy to read or
It's easy to use. So for example, if I'm the salesperson, I come in and I want to go to Harry's test account. I come in, if I want to see the data, I look here and I see just the account data. If I want to edit the contact, I have to go into this page, go in here and do all my clicks, right? For editing these accounts, right? I have to pick up each one.
Yeah.
The idea, and let me just go back to here for a second.
Oh, like, can we do this?
All of this is on one page.
Yeah.
So the user doesn't have, I've just taken 5 clicks away from the user. And they can edit all on here. That's the use case, is reduce their clicks.
Okay, can we use dynamic related? And then.
You, in the flow, I don't know if you can put that into the flow and edit. So I honestly don't know the answer. Yeah, so I've tried the tables, and the table was the first thing that I found that could put it in. But no, I haven't tried that, so I don't know the answer. So, okay. But actually, it's a good thing. I'll try to take a look, so, okay. So the other,
But in real life, it is a good benefit. In my company, we implemented, for example, on the account suite, on the right-hand section, we implemented tables on the right for certain custom data that the user needed to see. So while they're talking to the customer, they see the consents, for example, what the customer has given consent on marketing or email, etc. So in real life, it is a business need for the end user, and to have it in one screen, the data they need for their business.
Also, you're saying even if you can use the table on the side.
Yes.
Without even flow.
No, we have a table because the user doesn't edit the data, but it's
Oh.
similar, right?
Yeah.
But it's similar. This has more intelligence because you can
right,
edit the
right.
data. That's the extra I'm taking
Right.
today.
Yeah, exactly. So it
But-
depends on the actual detailed use case. You're right, so.
But like, we don't want the user to modify the data, because we have integration with other systems. So we use flows we need the flow to be able to interact with the other system and update the data. So we don't want them to update it here because it's the out of the box. Well, it's not out of the box, but it's sort of.
Yeah, you don't have to use it on the.
Yeah.
You can use, big flow to just be on the page, you know, the record page. It is, it doesn't have to be like-
Right,
It doesn't
so
have to be creative, that we use it.
just show you
But
the,
then user will tell you. But they.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, that's what it goes on in there.
that's where the.
no, I got a couple more to open, so.
Oh, that reminds me of someone. And then why is it slow?
Yeah, every once in a while I have to redo all this.
Oh, he's working, and you can see he's working.
At the start of the day, I just close my windows, and all my browsers,
Yeah.
20 or 30 browsers for tablet.
And I'm sure like now that you're presenting a so small the monitor, like
Yeah,
your laptop, you're used to your monitor.
so this is the real implementation we have at the moment. So basically, most of our accounts have multiple contacts. So this table is bigger, but the sales table. Sorry,
So they need to see in one shot the account in the context.
something got messed up here.
For this purpose, you can very much, but I found that this data is very different. Because the best use case is when you want to control process for your users. There's something that they need to follow, and not to stay in the very boundary. Then you can create a table, you can show them exactly the record that they want to reduce opportunity for them to make mistakes, to select something wrong. The next step on the perfect for approval processing.
Yeah. So in this case, you have the account information embedded in the page. And then we also did work for the case table. So what you're seeing is the top of the case tables below. And then just because we're still doing testing, I actually have the old system still available. But coming back to see the tabs go away when you do that.
Yeah, that's a new feature on the phone. save some time.
Yeah. So it's really great you have your table, but sometimes you want to be able to add another contact and just do it, or add whatever, another record here and do that. So if in the case of the flow, so when we click the button, basically the button will then go and say, open up another flow that just does the record add. So when I do this, I click the add, and then I can add, you're going to go down in history there. See, you pushed your luck there. So again, this is just the flow, but it brings it in, and then you'll see that the contact got added. The big thing though is within the table. So again, this button we added to the screen, we put it above the others, so you have the contact. And then in here, you see we've named the app, or this particular app, and then we've labeled the button. Then you move forward, and in here you can use brand, which will use the brand color that comes from the org, or you could actually have like a lighter color in there, but you don't have complete control over all the colors that go within there. And then as you see, you can actually add multiple buttons into here. So you can actually add about 5 different buttons in here. You'll see also, so in here, you'll see you can set the button whether it's clicked or not. And then in your flow itself, in the flow, I have a decision-making step in here. What was it? Sorry. Oh, sorry. So I have the save position, I have the add contact, and then in the add contact is when the button is clicked, then I say that's a true situation, and then I can go and execute the decision making based on that. Likewise, I have another one for, when we save, and basically when we save, we can take all the changes that we've been made, which have been stored in the data table in a certain record format, and then we can just pass them and work on those. So, there's a lot of different things that can be done. These were 2 that helped us go a lot further with the application. We can, in the flow, we can create a screen, we can put multiple objects on a page, and then we can put a table on there that we then allow to be editable, so the people don't have to go back to the record and edit the record itself. And we were just putting the key information. If you go to the record page, you have 20, 30 items that you might be able to change. We're just selecting, typically 5, and then you operate with that. And then obviously you have the button that allows you to, to add or do whatever you wanted to those records. It doesn't have to be an add. It could be a delete. In that case, you could have a delete button and do something there. You can, whatever else you want to massage.
Can you go home, like for example, in process?
So I would have to create the button and then create a flow that does the clone, or call another piece of logic that does the clone. Because the button only is a button that allows you to perform an action, and then the action has to go and do what needs to be done.
For every action. Oh,
a flow code or call something, right? You could go to a URL, for example. So you could send them to another URL. You could send them to a record. So it's any action that could be performed. You could embed in there.
So it's getting rid of AWS.
Well, the whole flow aspect is doing its best to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's reduced
Yes.
So,
80%.
Yeah.
Numbers.
That's good.
I just did this project that was.
So-
Doing everything in Apex,
Mhm.
and they come to the next project, and we did 80% in the flow and 10%.
yeah, and that's we were 1910 in ours, and so this is that unofficial flow, and then
The developers to use flow, right?
It's the right tool for developers, redevelop the mindset.
Of course, but a lot of people like to use Apex, right?
So just
so.
Like just example, the one. that
Yes.
How do you install this?
Like. I
So,
remember-
so it's a managed package. You click on it, and then it will install the package. It'll install like any other managed package.
There's all the whole app exchange.
This is not going through the app exchange, but it still installs as if you are, the same way the app exchange does. It comes up with that nice little screen. I don't know how to describe it, but and then it says, do you want to install this for admins or for everybody? And it's
Production or something.
exactly.
So why didn't this guy put it on the app exchange? Yeah, that's much more.
Well, actually, he does say somewhere that he put it on the app exchange, but he didn't keep the versions up to date. And but like there's a crap load of these guys out here. Sorry for my language, but there's a lot of different components out here that could be added into there. So I guess it's just cheaper and easier for him to do it. I don't know. So.
Well, thank you for that was great. Different way of like.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't ask you that.
Let's jump into another this one or this. Hey, go ahead, what do you say?
I'm gonna stop the recording.
Sorry, I didn't ask if there were other questions.
I don't think you heard me.
No, but there's other people on the